The universe had forgotten how to be kind. That much was clear to Lieutenant Commander Jasper Hale as he watched the last transmission from Earth flicker and die on his screen. The message had been simple, devastatingly so. 3 words that marked the end of everything humanity had built over millennia. They are here. Jasper ran his fingers through his dark hair, now streaked with premature gray despite being only 32 years old. War had a way of aging people before their time. His reflection in the darkened monitor showed a man who had seen too much death, made too many impossible choices. The scar running down his left cheek was a reminder of the Battle of Proxima, where he had been one of only 12 survivors from a crew of 300. The bridge of the Crimson Dawn was eerily quiet. His ship, a Marathon-class frigate, was never meant to survive this long. Built during the early days of the conflict with the Krillian Dominion, she was outdated by modern standards. Her hull was patchwork metal, her weapon systems 3 generations behind current technology, and her faster-than-light drive made disturbing grinding noises whenever they jumped between systems. Yet somehow, this ancient vessel had outlasted every other ship in the Human Defense Coalition. "Commander, we're detecting movement in Sector 7. The voice belonged to Tomas Reeves, a young pilot barely 20 years old who had joined the crew only 6 months ago. His hands trembled slightly as they hovered over the control panel. Jasper didn't blame him for being afraid. Fear was the only rational response to their situation. "How many ships?" Jasper asked, though he already knew the answer would be bad. "Sensors are picking up at least 800 Krillian vessels, sir. They're moving information toward Earth's last moon colonies." Tomas paused, swallowing hard. "Sir, that's more firepower than we've ever seen in one place. They could glass an entire planet with that fleet." Jasper stood and walked to the observation window. Outside, space looked deceptively peaceful. Stars twinkled in the darkness, unchanged by the war that had consumed 3 human generations. Somewhere out there, beyond the asteroid field they were hiding in, the Krillian Armada was preparing to finish what they started 50 years ago. The Krillian Dominion controlled nearly half the known galaxy. They were an ancient race, their civilization spanning thousands of years while humans were still learning to make fire. When humanity first ventured into deep space 70 years ago, full of hope and dreams of peaceful contact, the Krillians had laughed at their naivety. To the Dominion, humans were nothing more than insects who had wandered into a territory they didn't understand. The war began with the destruction of humanity's first colony ship, the New Horizon. 5,000 civilians, including women and children, vaporized in seconds by Krillian plasma cannons. Earth's governments had demanded answers, reparations, justice. The Dominion's response was to send warships to blockade the solar system. Their message was clear: submit to slavery or face extinction. Humanity chose to fight. It was a choice born of pride, desperation, and the fundamental human refusal to surrender in the face of impossible odds. For 5 decades, human forces had battled against an enemy with superior numbers, superior technology, and superior strategic positions. Billions had died. Entire colonies had been reduced to radioactive wastelands. The great cities of Earth had crumbled under orbital bombardment. But humans had also learned to be clever. They couldn't match Krillian firepower, so they became experts in guerrilla tactics, hit-and-run attacks, and unconventional warfare. Admiral Victoria Cross, the legendary commander who had held the line at New Canberra for 2 years against overwhelming odds, once said that humans fought dirty because fighting fair meant dying clean. Those words had become the unofficial motto of the resistance. "Sir, I'm picking up a distress signal." This came from Dr. Helena Park, the ship's chief science officer. She was a brilliant woman in her 40s who had given up a comfortable research position to join the military after her home on Mars was destroyed. "It's faint, but it's definitely human in origin. Coming from the direction of Titan's orbital platform." Jasper moved to her station. "Can you enhance it?" Helena's fingers danced across her console. The signal cleared slightly, revealing a voice broken by static and pain. This is Research Station Omega-3. We are under attack. Repeat, under attack. The Krillians have breached our defenses. They're looking for something. They're tearing the station apart piece by piece. Please, if anyone can hear this, you must not let them find the Genesis protocol. You must not. The transmission ended in a scream and then silence. Genesis protocol, Jasper repeated quietly. Helena, does that mean anything to you? The scientist's face had gone pale. I've heard rumors, sir. Whispers from the science division about a classified project. Something that could change the balance of the war. But I thought it was just wishful thinking, desperation making people believe in miracles. Jasper looked at his small crew. Besides Tomas and Helena, there was Chief Engineer Marcus Baptiste, a gruff veteran who could fix anything with spare parts and determination. There was Medical Officer Yuki Tanaka, whose gentle hands had saved more lives than Jasper could count. There was Tactical Officer Devon Wright, a woman whose strategic mind had pulled them out of countless impossible situations. And there were 15 others, each one essential, each one irreplaceable. 20 souls against an empire of trillions. One broken ship against an armada of 800 advanced warships. The odds were beyond impossible. They were absurd. Set course for Titan, Jasper said. Devon turned to stare at him. Sir, that's where the Krillian fleet is heading. We'd be flying straight into their guns. I know exactly where we'd be going, Lieutenant. Jasper met her gaze steadily. But if there's even a chance that this Genesis protocol is real, if there's any possibility it could help humanity survive, then we have to try. We might be the only ship in position to reach it before the Krillians do. This is suicide, Commander, Marcus said bluntly. The old engineer never minced words. Yes, it probably is. Jasper allowed himself a small, bitter smile. But we've been living on borrowed time since this war began. Every breath we've taken for the past 50 years has been an insult to the Dominion's sense of superiority. So let's make our last breaths count for something. He could see them processing this, weighing survival instinct against duty, fear against hope. Then, one by one, they returned to their stations, the crimson dawn cut through space like a knife through silk, her aging engines pushing beyond safe limits as they raced toward Titan. Jasper stood at the command deck, eyes fixed on the tactical display that showed 800 Krillian warships converging on the same destination. Each enemy vessel was a masterpiece of destructive engineering, bristling with weapons that could reduce entire cities to ash in seconds. His ship, by comparison, was a relic that belonged in a museum. Time to intercept, he asked. 17 minutes at current speed, Tomas replied, his voice steadier now. The young pilot had found something like courage in the decision to act rather than hide. But Commander, the Krillian fleet will reach Titan in 12 minutes. We're going to arrive too late. Jasper clenched his jaw. Too late. The story of humanity's war in 2 words. Always one step behind, always reacting instead of acting, always mourning what could have been saved if only they had been faster, smarter, stronger. But this time, being late might actually work in their favor. Helena, what do we know about Research Station Omega-3? The science officer pulled up schematics on her screen. It's a deep space research facility built into one of Titan's smaller moons. Officially, it was studying atmospheric processing techniques. But based on the security protocols I'm seeing in these files, they were definitely working on something classified. The station has reinforced bunkers designed to survive direct orbital strikes. So whatever the Genesis protocol is, it might still be intact even after the Krillian attack, Devon observed. The question is how we get to it with an entire armada in our way. Marcus laughed, a sound like grinding gears. We don't fight our way through. We sneak. The Dominion thinks they've won this war. They're arrogant enough to believe no human ship would dare approach their fleet. That arrogance is their weakness. Jasper nodded slowly. We go dark. Full stealth protocols. Helena, can you mask our energy signature? I can try. If we redirect power from life support to the dampening field and coast in on momentum alone, we might register as space debris on their sensors. Might being the critical word. How long can we survive without life support? Yuki asked quietly. At current crew levels, approximately 40 minutes before carbon dioxide buildup becomes lethal, Helena answered. Less if anyone panics and starts breathing heavily. 40 minutes to save humanity or die trying. Jasper had faced worse odds, though he couldn't remember when. Do it. All power to stealth systems. And someone tell the crew to meditate or pray or whatever helps them stay calm. This is going to be uncomfortable. The ship went dark. Emergency lighting cast everything in shades of red. The familiar hum of the ventilation system died, replaced by an oppressive silence broken only by the sound of 20 people trying to control their breathing. Temperature began to drop immediately. Jasper could see his breath misting in the cold air. Through the observation window, he watched the Krillian fleet grow larger. Their ships moved in perfect geometric formations, a display of military precision that humanity had never managed to match. The vessels themselves were things of terrible beauty, all flowing curves and bioluminescent panels that pulsed with an eerie purple light. Krillian technology blended organic and mechanical elements in ways human science still couldn't fully understand. Passing through their outer perimeter, Tomas whispered, as if speaking too loud might give them away. No reaction. They haven't detected us. The Crimson Dawn drifted like a ghost through the armada. Jasper could see the massive Krillian dreadnoughts up close now, their hulls covered in symbols that might have been writing or art or something humans had no context to understand. Gun ports the size of buildings tracked across empty space, searching for threats that didn't exist. For a moment, Jasper allowed himself to imagine what it would be like if humanity had this kind of power, if human ships could inspire this kind of fear. But humans didn't have that power. They had desperation and stubbornness and the ability to do incredibly stupid things in the face of certain death. Sometimes, that was enough. We're approaching Titan's moon, Helena reported, her voice tight with oxygen deprivation. I can see the research station. Or what's left of it. The tactical display showed the devastation. The Krillians had torn through Research Station Omega-3 like a tornado through a paper house. Entire sections were missing, blown out into space. Bodies floated in the void, scientists and security personnel who had died defending secrets they believed in. Jasper felt a familiar hollow ache in his chest. More names for the endless list of the dead. But the central bunker, the reinforced core of the station, appeared intact. Scarred and battered, but intact. Life signs? Jasper asked. Helena checked her instruments and shook her head. Nothing. If anyone survived the initial attack, they're not alive anymore. Then we go in and find this Genesis protocol ourselves. Jasper turned to his crew. Devon, Marcus, you're with me. Yuki, prepare the medical bay in case we find survivors despite the sensor readings. Tomas, keep the ship ready for immediate departure. Helena, restore life support but keep our signature as low as possible. Air rushed back into the bridge, sweet and cold. Jasper took a deep breath, feeling his head clear. They had made it through the Krillian fleet undetected. Now came the hard part. The boarding shuttle detached from the Crimson Dawn with barely a whisper. It was a small craft, designed for emergency evacuations, but it served their purpose. Marcus piloted them toward the shattered research station with the skill of someone who had been flying through debris fields his entire career. Up close, the destruction was even worse. Entire corridors were exposed to vacuum. Scientific equipment worth billions of credits floated uselessly in zero gravity. Jasper saw a child's drawing taped to a wall in what had been crew quarters, a crayon picture of Earth with the words, "Home Sweet Home," written in unsteady letters. Someone's son or daughter had lived here, played here, dreamed here. Now they were gone. Docking at the main bunker entrance, Marcus announced. Seals are damaged but should hold pressure long enough for us to get inside. They suited up in environmental gear and cycled through the airlock. The bunker's interior was dark except for emergency lighting that painted everything in sickly green. Their magnetic boots clanged against metal floors as they moved deeper into the facility. Spread out and search for anything labeled Genesis Protocol, Jasper ordered. Data cores, research notes, prototypes, anything. We have maybe 20 minutes before the Krillians finish their sweep of the outer station and decide to crack open this bunker like a nut. They split up, each taking a different corridor. Jasper found himself in what appeared to be a lead researcher's office. Papers floated in the zero gravity, covered in equations he couldn't begin to understand. A photograph was magnetically attached to the desk, showing a woman with kind eyes standing with two teenage boys. All three were smiling. Jasper wondered if they had died together or separately, if they had been afraid at the end. He forced himself to focus and began searching the office systematically. Drawers, cabinets, a personal safe hidden behind a painting of the Andromeda Galaxy. Nothing about the Genesis Protocol. Just normal research, atmospheric data, temperature readings, chemical analyses of Titan's lakes. "Commander, I found something." Devon's voice crackled over the comm, "You need to see this." Jasper followed her signal to a sealed laboratory 3 levels down. Devon and Marcus were standing in front of a massive computer terminal, its screen still active and glowing with data. The lead scientist, Dr. Raymond Cross, left a video message, Devon explained. "It's dated 2 hours ago, right before the Krillian attack." She pressed a button and a holographic projection filled the air. The woman from the photograph appeared, but she looked nothing like the smiling person in the picture. Her face was haggard, her eyes wild with a mixture of terror and desperate hope. "If you're seeing this, then I'm dead and the Krillians have come for what we created." Dr. Cross's voice was hoarse. "The Genesis Protocol isn't a weapon. It's something far more dangerous. It's a choice." She gestured to something off-screen and the camera angle shifted, showing a cylindrical chamber filled with swirling blue light. Inside the light, something moved, pulsed, lived. 3 years ago, we discovered an anomaly in Titan's upper atmosphere. A form of energy we'd never encountered before. Living energy, if such a thing can exist. We studied it, analyzed it, and eventually learned to communicate with it. What it told us changed everything we thought we knew about the universe. Dr. Cross's hologram flickered, her expression filled with a pain that went beyond physical wounds. "This entity, we don't have a proper name for it, exists outside normal space and time. It showed us things, futures that might be, paths humanity could take. In one future, we defeat the Krillians. In another, we become worse than them. In most, we simply cease to exist." Jasper felt his heart hammering against his ribs. Behind him, Devon and Marcus stood perfectly still, transfixed by the message from a dead woman who had glimpsed the shape of tomorrow. "The entity offered us a gift," Dr. Cross continued. "The power to rewrite reality itself on a quantum level. With it, we could retroactively prevent the Krillian invasion, undo 50 years of war, bring back everyone we've lost. Every child, every soldier, every innocent person who died in this nightmare. We could make it so the war never happened at all." For a moment, Jasper couldn't breathe. The possibility was too vast, too overwhelming. His parents, killed in the first battle of Luna. His sister, who died defending a colony ship full of refugees. The 300 crew members of his first command, lost at Proxima. All of them could live again. The universe could be made right. "But there's a cost," Dr. Cross said, and her voice broke. "The entity exists in a state of balance with our reality. To give us this power, it must consume something equivalent. Not energy or matter, but something more fundamental. It must consume the very concept of human choice. Every person who would be saved by undoing the war would lose their free will. We would exist, but we would be hollow. Puppets moving through lives that had been predetermined. We would be alive but not truly human anymore. The hologram showed Dr. Cross wiping tears from her face. I've spent 3 months wrestling with this choice. Do we accept extinction with our humanity intact, or survival without the spark that makes us who we are? I couldn't decide. No one person should decide. So I'm leaving the choice to whoever finds this message. The Genesis protocol can only be activated once. The activation sequence is stored in this terminal. But I beg you, whoever you are, think carefully before you use it. The message ended. The laboratory fell silent except for the quiet hum of the computer terminal and the sound of 3 people trying to process the impossible. Marcus spoke first, his gruff voice surprisingly gentle. My daughter would be alive. She was 7 when the Krillians bombed New Tokyo. 7 years old. I could have watched her grow up, get married, have children of her own. My brother, Devin whispered. My parents. My whole family, gone in one day when they glassed the colony on Kepler 4. I could see them again. I could hug my mother one more time. Jasper thought of his sister, Elena. She had been braver than him, smarter than him, kinder than him. The universe had been a better place with her in it. He could bring her back. All he had to do was surrender what made humanity human. We can't, he said quietly. We can't make that choice. Why not? Marcus demanded, and there was anger in his voice now, anger born from decades of loss. What has free will gotten us except pain and death? Maybe being puppets in a peaceful universe is better than being free in a universe of endless war. You don't believe that, Jasper said. If you did, you would have surrendered to the Krillians years ago. They offered us the same deal, remember? Submit to their rule, give up our independence, and they'd stop the killing. You chose to fight instead. We all did. That was different, Devin argued. The Krillians would have enslaved us, turned us into their servants. This is different. We'd be alive, our families would be alive, and the war would never have happened. But we wouldn't really be us, Jasper said. We'd be copies, simulations, shadows of people who made real choices. Every decision predetermined, every thought prescribed, every emotion programmed. That's not life. That's existence without meaning. He walked to the terminal and stared at the swirling blue light in the chamber. The entity inside pulsed with colors that hurt to look at directly, as if it existed in more dimensions than human eyes could process. I miss my sister every single day, Jasper continued, his voice thick with emotion. There's a hole in my life where she used to be, and it will never heal. But Elena made a choice to stand up and fight for what she believed in. She chose to sacrifice herself so that others might live free. If I use this protocol, I'm erasing that choice. I'm saying her sacrifice didn't matter, that her courage was meaningless. I can't do that to her memory. Marcus turned away, his shoulders shaking. When he spoke, his voice was barely audible. My little girl loved butterflies. She had a collection of pictures, hundreds of them, every species she could find. She told me she wanted to be a scientist when she grew up, wanted to study how they flew. She never got the chance. I know, Jasper said softly. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for everyone we've lost. But they died as human beings making human choices. Good choices, bad choices, brave choices, scared choices. But they were theirs to make. If we take that away, even to bring them back, we're saying their lives didn't matter. We're saying the struggle didn't matter. Devin had tears running down her face. So we just let them stay dead? We have the power to fix everything, and we walk away? We let them stay human, Jasper corrected. We honor them by continuing to make choices, even when those choices hurt. Especially when they hurt. That's what separates us from machines. That's what makes us worth saving. The ship suddenly shuddered. Warning alarms blared through the facility. The Krillians, Marcus said, checking his scanner. They've detected our presence. They're converging on the bunker. Jasper looked at the terminal one last time. The activation sequence was right there, glowing on the screen. One button press. One moment of weakness. He could end the pain, restore the world, save everyone. Instead, he drew his weapon and fired directly into the computer core. Sparks flew as circuits overloaded and systems crashed. The blue light in the chamber flickered and began to fade. "What are you doing?" Devon shouted. "Making a choice," Jasper replied. "The Krillians can't have this power either. No one can. Some doors should stay closed." The entity in the chamber seemed to pulse one final time, and for just a moment, Jasper felt something in his mind. Not words exactly, but understanding. Approval, perhaps. Or maybe just acknowledgement. Then it was gone, dissolved back into whatever reality it had come from. "Move, now," Jasper ordered. They ran back through the ruined station as explosions rocked the structure around them. The Krillians were tearing through the outer walls, their weapons designed to leave nothing intact. They reached the shuttle just as a section of wall behind them exploded inward. Jasper saw Krillian soldiers in their distinctive armor, tall and impossibly fast. Plasma fire lit up the corridor. Marcus returned fire while Devon got the shuttle started. "Go, go, go." Jasper threw himself into the shuttle as Marcus followed. The hatch sealed and the small craft rocketed away from the station just as it erupted in a massive explosion. The Genesis Protocol, and all the impossible choices it represented, was gone forever. The Crimson Dawn waited for them, still hidden in Titan's shadow. As soon as they docked, Tomas fired the engines and they began accelerating away from the Krillian fleet. "They're pursuing," Devon reported. 20 ships breaking formation to chase us. "Can we outrun them?" Jasper asked. "Not a chance," Tomas replied. "But I can buy us time. Claude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses."